Hello and welcome to It's All Local. I'm Seth McCoy. On Tuesday, September 14th, voters will go to the polls to vote for, among other things, United States Representative for the 9th Congressional District. This year, there are 5 people running for that seat: 2 Democrats, Congressman Steve Lynch and Mac D'Alessandro, Republicans Vernon Harrison and Keith Lepore, and Independent Phil Dunkelbarger. Tonight, we take a closer look at candidates Vernon Harrison and Keith Lepore. Stay tuned. And joining me now is Vernon Harrison, Republican candidate for the 9th Congressional District. Vernon, welcome to It's All Local.
Thanks for having me.
So a lot of people at home right now might be watching the show and saying, who's Vernon Harrison? So in a nutshell, who are you?
I'd be surprised if they're not. Okay, I'm Vernon Harrison. I'm a Republican candidate for Congress in the 9th Congressional District. I'm a resident of Braintree for the better part of the last 44 years, father of 5. Grandfather of 2 by the time this goes to tape. I'm in the technology industry. I've been a taxpayer for many years and motivated to do something by the way things are today.
And why is that? Why are you running for the 9th Congressional District?
Well, there's 2 things that are timed well. One, where I am in my life. I've had a lot of experiences and, being a businessman and serving my community in the church and raising 5 kids, put a couple through college already in the business field. So I sort of feel like I've reached a degree of life's experiences where I've paid attention to what has gone on. And compounding that with the way things are going today in Washington. I think it's safe to say that everybody's frustrated. Maybe even a lot of the guys that are sitting in chairs down there frustrated by the way things are going. And so I've decided that with permission from my wife, that I would...
It's very important.
I started there.
Okay.
I started there, and I will tell you that when I approached my wife, by the way, I said, she could tell I had a certain look in my eye, and she said, honey, what's the matter? And I said, the bad news is I'm not having an affair.
And then the good news is?
And the good news is I think I want to run for Congress,
And what was her reaction? What was the rest of your family's reaction?
Actually, I will tell you that my wife and my friends, including, knowing me well, their reaction was very positive. My wife, who obviously is partisan, she has told me on more than one occasion that she sees somebody that can do whatever he sets its mind to do. And she's always been very supportive of me. Whenever I leave the house to help somebody else, she never complains. And I was also, I shouldn't say surprised, a lot of my friends in the business community, in the church community, neighbors, family, were very supportive of it, very, very supportive of it, and felt that, that not only would I make a good congressman, but first I would make a good candidate.
Well, speaking of candidates, you have an opponent, another Republican, Keith Lepore, who's running. So what sets you apart from Keith, and what is your intention if you're elected? If you get past September and then moved into November and then are successful, what is it you want to bring to the people of the district?
Okay, we'll start with that 8-point question at the beginning. I've met Keith Lepore, and I now count Keith Lepore amongst my friends. Quite frankly, there's not a lot of difference. We certainly have some different life experiences. But I would tell you, if you were to stand, Keith and I side by side, and now I can say this humbly because I'm talking about Keith, he's a good man, right? He is a first-time candidate who, too, is frustrated by the way things are going. We're of about the same age, I've managed to have more kids than him, but it's not too late, Keith, if you're listening or watching. And so from that aspect, there's not a lot of difference. I do believe that my interaction in the business community may give me an edge, but I would suggest to anyone out there that Keith and I are both focused on getting a Republican to fill the seat. And with that in mind, after if and when I succeed on September 14th and become the Republican nominee, I have a lot of things in place that will I don't want to say catapult, that's probably too aggressive, but a lot of things will kick in, and we'll try to get that message out there. You know, we're fortunate today to have the web to help us out with that, and that would be voteforvernon.com, by the way. But when I get down to Washington, one of the first things I would like to do is change the way business is done. Now, I can't change Washington.
Right. And a lot of people say they want to change the way business is done in Washington.
Fair enough. In fact, someone approached me this weekend and said, you know, I've heard it before, Washington outsider, first-time candidate. You know, and they've heard it before. So, you know, in fact, with that in mind, don't we want to stick with the guy who has a lot of experience? Now, before speaking about Steve Lynch personally, let me tell you that my intentions are to go down there and never become self-serving. I don't need to be called congressman to know that I have a blessed life. I have a wife who will keep me grounded. That's where my blessings have been. I am not a rich man. I am not the CEO of a company, and I know what it's like to struggle. And I think what we need in Washington is people that are down there who I believe go with good intentions, but when they get down there, they get enamored, they get romanced.
Don't you think that could happen to you, though, if you're elected?
I absolutely think I'm susceptible, and it would be unfair to say I'm not, okay? But I can tell you that as a stand-up comedian who has performed successfully in front of hundreds of people, at the end of the day, I'm prouder to be a father. Having my kids successful in school is what really matters to me. And I look at my neighbors. The best joy that I have in my life is when I'm helping them out. And I wished in some way, you know, there was a campaign to show what I've done for the community. But going back to Washington, when I get down there, there is so much inefficiency, so much inconsistency, so much self-serving that I am not gonna do that. It's my intention to spend as much time in the district as possible, because I think that's a big part of the problem.
Right, and you actually have something that you're passionate about, which is bringing the politicians home to actually work with the community in which they serve.
In that, you know, in fact, it was funny, because I would love to tell you that Bring Home the Politicians was my idea, but it was not. It's an organization that introduced itself to me and talked about making congressmen spend 75% of their time in their district. I think that in itself would help even those with good intentions who left. I think, quite frankly, though, I think anybody who's been there 4 or 5 terms can no longer see. They can't see the light. They cannot see down anymore. They can't see. In fact, unfortunately, they have a tendency to look down. You know, I have been out collecting my own signatures, shaking hands, answering my own phone. And I will tell you that in itself has gotten people's attention. Can I promise that it won't happen? No, but I can assure you that if it doesn't, you should call my wife.
And she'll take care of it.
She is under strict orders to keep me. She's very effective at it. In fact, I will say, when elected, I will lead as a congressman, but will be still taking orders from my wife.
Some of the things that you want to change are taxes. That's a big issue for you. What do you want to change with the way taxes are collected or not collected, or how we spend tax money? Sure.
My first inclination on taxes is the income tax. I think the whole system is so convoluted and unfortunately supports special interests in various groups of people, which it was not intended to. You know, the American people are very intelligent, smart, and just like every time we come up with a new reform for campaign financing, somebody's clever enough to figure out a way around it. And it's the same with tax codes. You know, the ones with the most money and the most tax lawyers are the ones that are going to find their way around it. And where does that leave folks like you and me?